In 2018, New Jersey put out 97 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are the leading contributor to climate change, which will drastically affect New Jersey in coming years. This can be seen in a number of factors, such as rising temperatures and sea level. New Jersey's average annual temperatures have been increasing since 1900 and increased 2.2 degrees Fahrenheit since then, with even more rapid warming since 1980. 5 of the warmest years on record have happened since 1998, with 2012 being the warmest year on record for New Jersey. Sea level rise is also a major threat to New Jersey, with large portions of the population and economy situated along the shore. In Atlantic City alone, the sea has risen by 1.5 inches per decade, which is almost double the global average. The New Jersey coastline faces greater rates of sea level rise due to its high land subsidence, the gradual settling or sinking of the Earth's surface. A 2019 study led by Rutgers scientists found that the central estimate for sea level rise in New Jersey by 2050 is 1.4 feet. By 2100, this increases to 2.8 feet at low emissions and 3.9 feet for high emissions. Sea level rise of 2 feet could more than triple the rate of dangerous coastal flooding, with these effects magnified by large storms. Out of the greenhouse gas emissions in New Jersey, it is estimated that 45.8% of all emissions originated from the transportation sector. In 2018, there were almost 6 million registered vehicles in New Jersey. In the same year, there are only 22,000 registered electric and hybrid vehicles. With New Jersey aiming to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions to 24.1 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent by 2050, major reductions need to happen. The best way of doing this in the transportation sector would be to promote the usage of electric and hybrid cars, which have zero greenhouse gas emissions. To find out more about electric and hybrid cars in New Jersey, I interviewed some electric car owners in state about the cars they own. The first person I interviewed was my neighbor, Jim McGinley. What electric car do you own?
I have a 2019 Tesla Model 3 all-wheel drive dual motor.
It's 2019, so you've had it for a year?
Just about a year, yes.
And this is the first electric car you've owned?
Correct.
How much did it cost you?
It was about $52,000.
Oof. And how much is that cost was affected by incentives and rebates?
Well, I got a $3,750 tax rebate, so tax credit.
Okay.
So that comes back. So that is a tax actually a tax credit.
Alrighty. So how worried are you in general about climate change and pollution?
Pollution for sure. Climate change, not as much, because I don't see the ill effects of that.
Selling a lot of this shit too.
Did that worry play into like your decision to buy an electric car that much?
Actually, it was probably a small part of it. I think is more the performance to value.
So that's why you chose the electric car over like a
Yeah,
normal
the electric
one,
car for me, I hit all the marks that I wanted. I wanted a reliable car, low maintenance, all-wheel drive, relatively inexpensive, and I use that term, loosely, and a car that was fast. So it kind of hit all my boxes.
Okay. Has charging the car at home like affected your electricity bill that much?
Very minimal. Very minimal. I haven't noticed a difference.
And how was it like very difficult or expensive to install like a charging thing at home?
So it wasn't. I was able to watch some pretty helpful YouTube videos on how to do it. I do have a friend that was an electrician who actually did the panel installation with the new breaker, but I was able to run the wire and buy all the supplies for less than $200.
Alrighty. And how long does it take to charge, generally?
Okay. So I just had the car down to 90 miles of charge left, and it's about a 310 mile full charge car, but I typically charge to 80%. So it'll take about on an empty charge, it'll take about 6-7 hours on a 220 line. But I typically plug my car in every time I come into the garage.
Okay. What do you think about like the current like charging infrastructure in New Jersey, like public charging stations?
I think it's drastically improving every day. They just installed a new one at Deffert Mall. The superchargers are terrific because they charge about I think it's about 100 miles per 15 minutes for the newer ones. It's something
Wow.
crazy. But fortunately for me, I have it at the home, so unless I'm traveling, I typically don't use a supercharger. But I think if I were to travel, they're along most of the major highways, like the turnpikes, I-95. You can go to Florida because there's so many off of 95 and on 95 at the rest stops. So I think if you own a Tesla, you're in a better spot than most electric car owners. But I think even with other electric cars, you should be in a pretty safe spot.
Okay. And would you be likely to buy another electric car in the future?
I don't think I'll ever buy a fuel-based car again. So from what I know and what I have experienced thus far with my Tesla, likely I'll remain a Tesla customer forever.
Alrighty. Next, I interviewed another one of my neighbors, Jim Petrowski.
First car I got was a Toyota Prius.
And you've had that for
About 3 years.
alrighty. And it's the first electric vehicle you've owned?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So how much did that cost you?
I think ballpark was around $24,000.
And how much did that cost affected by incentives and rebates?
Yeah, I don't think there was any incentives or rebates from the state or the federal government.
So it was just 24,000 straight MSRP.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Brand new,
Okay.
yeah.
In general, how worried about like climate change and pollution?
Oh, I probably could do more just like everybody else, but I do pay attention to it. I try to do somewhat of my part, insulating a house and everything and keeping bills low and having solar panels and having a Toyota Prius.
Yeah, so would you say that was a pretty big factor in like your decision to get like a hybrid?
Yeah, it certainly was. Gas mileage, nonetheless, you save money at the same time. So less gas you use to get places and, the higher efficiency, less money you spend on just getting to where you need to be.
So has having an electric vehicle you charge, has that like affected your electricity bill that much, or?
This one technically does not get charged, but it actually does have a battery, but the battery is generated off of one, braking, and two, the actual gas motor that's in it. So it's not completely electric.
Alright. So what's like the range of like you're just using the battery on it?
If you're just using a battery and you're on flat land, you could probably get it up to about, which I've tried, 30 miles an hour, and you could probably get a good 7-8 miles out of it. Yeah.
Okay. Would you think you'd be more likely to buy like another electrical vehicle in the future?
Oh, certainly would. Yeah. Probably be like a Tesla or something. Yeah.
Everybody's dream, of course. Yeah. So, are there any sorts of improvements you think that could be made towards like the electric vehicle infrastructure in New Jersey, like incentives, charging?
In terms of like recommendations for change to promote things, certainly I imagine you're going to need more charging stations, but I think that's slowly coming about. Quicker charging would be ideal. Price of electricity, you can't really finagle too much. I mean, that's set by certain standards. But yeah, overall, I think charging stations would be good and just quicker charging,
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cool.
Now that I had a general sense of electric car owners' point of view of things, I decided to get a more general sense of people's views on electric cars in New Jersey. So I organized and sent out a survey that asked people how much they knew about electric vehicles and what sort of things would impact their purchasing decisions. The first thing I asked is how likely they would be to buy an electric or hybrid car over a normal one. While around 80% said that they'd be at least somewhat likely, only 20% said that they'd be highly likely, while 20% say they'd be unlikely. When I asked the most likely reason they wouldn't buy an electric car, an overwhelming majority of around 70% replied that it was because of the price. Despite price being a major factor, only around 60% said that they had some knowledge of the various incentives and rebates available to electric car buyers. And among those, only 20% said that they had a good amount of knowledge. While every participant in the survey said that they were at least moderately concerned about the effects of climate change and pollution, only around 40% said that their views would affect the type of car that they buy. The results of the survey and interviews showed there is a large amount of positive opinion towards electric vehicles in New Jersey, but more needs to be done to promote their usage. A study conducted in 2018 that ranked states based off how electric vehicle friendly they were ranked New Jersey number 47 out of 50 states, making it the fourth worst state to own an electric car in. So what can be done to fix this? A great example comes from California, who ranked second in the same study. The first thing that can be done is an increase in the number of public charging stations. California had almost 5,000 in 2018, as compared to only 274 in New Jersey. Despite the larger population and size of California, this works out to around 8,000 people per charging station, as compared to 33,000 in New Jersey. While New Jersey ranked 7th for the number of electric cars owned in 2018, it ranked last in the number of charging outlets available. An increase in the number of public charging stations would promote the usage and sales of electric vehicles. This too is reflected in the survey, where the vast majority, around 80%, said that public charging stations in New Jersey were beneficial, but more were needed. Another option would be to increase the incentives offered to electric vehicle purchasers. California offers a rebate of up to $7,000 for fuel cell electric cars. While New Jersey already waives the sales tax on electric vehicle purchases, a rebate system similar to that of California would drastically decrease the cost of EVs, thus increasing sales and usage. Again, in the survey, the vast majority, 70%, said that price was the deciding factor in why they wouldn't buy an electric car. Furthermore, every participant agreed that an increase in incentives and an improved charging infrastructure would make it more likely for them to buy an electric car in the future. If New Jersey seeks to meet its emissions goals and tackle climate change, serious changes must be made to reduce emissions. Changing New Jersey into an electric vehicle-friendly state would massively reduce the emissions of the transportation sector, slowing climate change and its effects.